James.
Raf.
It's officially halfway through the silly season.
Halfway, you reckon?
I've said this before.
Oh, it starts in October?
Yeah, mid-October is the start of the silly season officially.
And it wraps up
March. So you're right. We're not halfway through.
10% of the way through.
No. The silly season, I think, officially ends 15 Feb.
Okay.
And it starts officially 14th of October.
Well, let's reverse engineer from first principles.
Okay.
All right.
We're doing some Bayesian logic.
We're doing some Bayesian logic. Imagine this. I think we can safely assume that December is a guaranteed winding down period.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we were just talking on the way in here, like the calendars of Christmas parties that are coming
Christmas parties accumulate, and it's the end of the year. Everyone's been working very hard.
No new project, no new contracts are going to be signed. You're not getting on any new sales.
No one's starting it.
Everyone's pushing everything off to next year.
Everyone, even the biggest tight-ass workaholic would agree that December is a wind-down period.
Yep.
Accept that. Okay,
sorry,
great.
I will, I guess, again, to Northern Hemisphere cucks or whatever, we are talking specifically, I know you guys don't have as long a holidays, but we're in the summertime. It's the summertime down here.
Look, I think I actually don't care what Americans think on this
neither
matter,
do I.
but
Not my problem.
I'm sure even Americans with their Protestant work ethic, and write in if you disagree, would agree that December's a wind down period. If you accept that, then I think it's safe to also accept that November is at best a sort of preparatory period for the wind down period.
Early November, you're already saying ain't going to happen this side of Christmas. Or it'd be great if we got it done this year, but it's touch and go. And it's like,
we can start.
That's a next year thing.
Totally. So I think we can safely include November in the silly season calculation.
No.
And again, few would disagree.
You're already talking about next year.
And Halloween is the end of October.
Yes.
Which pushes the silly season into October. If we're honest.
Absolutely. And then, October's mid-spring. It's also my birthday. Crucially, the middle of October is my birthday. And so I'm being silly for a good week.
And I'm sort of associated with you. So
you're listening to this.
Let's write off October as well. I'm going to be, I don't want to go crazy on this. I don't think you could fairly include September in silly season.
I think if you started saying it's the silly season on like September 20, that people would be confused.
People would balk. All right, so let's rule October is when the silly season starts. October, November, December. Obviously, January is a write-off.
Complete write-off, especially down here, because we're not going to do anything between New Year's and the 25th.
No one expects anything to happen.
No.
You're not expecting any of your
clients.
And
people don't come back from holidays until, many people don't come back until like Feb 1, Feb 2, whatever.
That's it. So January is a write-off.
Yeah. And Feb is like a trickle back.
It's not uncommon for someone to, for you to email someone and get it out of office.
European folks will relate.
It's not uncommon for a project to be happening in February and people will be like, oh, you know what? One of the stakeholders doesn't actually come back to March.
Yeah. And then you got to start factoring in Easter.
Well, that's it. You can't then ramp up in March only for you to hit the Easter period, which is either the end of the March or beginning of April. I'm not sure where it is at this time. So in the interest of energy conservation, let's say the silly season runs, and again, we've engineered this from first principles, runs from the 1st of October through to the 15th of April.
Happy silly season to all who celebrate.
Now we've gotten that out of the way.
Yes.
And we've very wisely reverse engineered the silly season from first principles using logic and rational inquiry, like we're on the Less Wrong forums.
Yes.
We turn our attention to the subject of this episode.
Yes.
We had a few ideas of things we wanted to talk about, and we won't bore you with the procedural details of what we're talking in much the same way as we just bored you with the procedural details of understanding when silly season starts and ends. But one thing that we realized is that every single topic that we brought up, we were like, what we're actually talking about is Kickstarter.
Yeah. And when we say every topic, we mean every topic that we've touched on since we started Down Round.
No, we were like, oh, what if we did like the craziest products that never came to fruition? Tech vaporware.
Vaporware. We're talking
what about the
vaporware.
biggest failed products? Oh, what about... Well, it was basically those things. But as we talked about it, we're like...
vaporware, but not computer games.
Yeah, we were like, we don't want to talk about Duke Nukem forever.
Yeah.
And we realized what we're actually talking about is a topic that we weirdly haven't covered, but we've kind of talked about things that are adjacent to it. But yeah, now is the time to talk about crowdfunding.
There is there's a tangent from Apple Intelligence to where we're landing here. We're not saying Apple Intelligence is vaporware.
Or crowdfunding.
Or the bag that took 3.5 years for me to receive and I had to pay an extra $250. We'll get to that later. There is a line. So I want to say that for the sake of honesty for our listeners and also, for just some context around the concept of saying that you're going to produce something and then delaying it or perhaps never delivering.
Yeah, that's true. That was the conversation, the ongoing problem of various technologies or companies being promised over a long period of time and never being resolved. And the master, the absolute king of that, is virtually every crowdfunding project with the exception of a few outliers success stories.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Kickstarter very quickly. What is it in case people haven't used it? And I feel like probably the younger in our audience might not be across it, but most millennials who are listening to a tech podcast have probably spent some, and if you've spent some, then most likely lost some money to a Kickstarter.
On a Kickstarter. So, founded in 2009, and it came up with the amazing idea in the world of...
gadgets.
Well, the gadget era, the rise of e-commerce, easy payment rails.
Yeah.
The venture capital surge that happened at the time, it was sort of floating around in the air.
Yeah, I guess the popularization, I would put a lot of that down to Google, honestly. Like, I feel like the quintessential started in a garage is Google. I know you could say that it's true of Apple, it's true of like other, but like
yeah. No,
Google is like
it was like the Facebook era, right? Like this whole, this idea of we're in this venture capital era where there are a bunch of different startups coming up out of the ground, money being thrown at big dreamers.
There's
with an
geniuses
idea.
everywhere. All they need is a bit of cash.
They need a little bit of cash. The traditional ways of getting that cash from people with money to people with ideas is through investment funds. But this is the era of Facebook and social media and the rise
Web 2.0.
Web 2.0, the idea that anybody has a voice, anybody can create something. All you got to do is have a platform, an internet platform that facilitates it.
I want to actually pause on that because I think this is important. People dared to dream. The idea that an individual can create something great. They have the talent. Like, there are geniuses everywhere with these genius ideas. All they need is
a shot.
All they need is a bit of cash to turn it into reality, which is basically the principle of Kickstarter. Right? It's like, I have an idea. Trust me, I'm a genius. All I need is a bit of cash. You will not get 1,000x return on your investment, but you will get a cool product.
A cool product. Well, that's it. It's shaking up the model of venture capital where the people that are investing don't actually want outsized returns. All they want is that dream device or software product or tabletop board game. There was a lot of those. And in fact, to this very day, tabletop board games are a third of Kickstarter's revenue.
Right.
This is a fact that I found out when I was looking it up.
But sorry, again, to the Zoomers or whatever, Kickstarter very quickly is someone says, I got an idea for a product, a gizmo, a gadget, a tabletop board game.
A software product, whatever.
Whatever it is.
A movie.
I need some money to make it a reality. You chip in now and you'll get the product in a year and a half, 2 years.
You get the product, plus, there's all these tiered benefits.
Exactly.
You give me $150, you get the product, but you also get some other bonus. Maybe you have your name in the credits of this thing. And if you donate more than that, you get some other tiered benefit. The original way that Kickstarter was set up is that the person who set up the project, they might say, I'm making a cool new device.
Yeah.
and I need $500,000 to make it.
Mm.
And they would not get any of the money unless they hit that $500,000 target. They set a clear monetary goal, and if they didn't hit that goal, they would not get the money, and you wouldn't have to donate it. With the goal being that this was a safeguard against spurious projects. They had to prove, or they had to have like a goal in mind to raise it. Indiegogo and a number of other.
That's right. They are.
You shut up. Indiegogo was one that introduced the curveball of you may not hit your goal, but if you get underneath that goal, you still get the money as a person who's raising a project. But the original Kickstarter model was that you didn't get it until you raised your target money. Anyway, as I said, this was very Facebook-led. That I would say that was like the chief distribution channel for Kickstarter projects back then, was being posted on Facebook and getting swept up in like the pumped Facebook model. And there were actually some wins. So just to like flag some of the things that were actually successful that raised money through Kickstarter, and also often they would distribute via Indiegogo as well once that launched. The Oculus Rift, the original one by Palmer Luckey, the virtual reality goggles, raised money on Kickstarter.
Yeah. And these are the things that also like everyone hears about this. You know, this company raised X amount of money on Kickstarter and it delivered this revolutionary product. Like, isn't that amazing? And that makes you think, or made one think that, you know, yeah, you could be finding the next insane revolutionary product and just by pledging $200.
Yep. No, totally. And for the people who were making these products, the incentive structure was appealing because it was like, you're not giving away any of your company. The people who are investing in you, and keeping in mind that they're not writing big checks, they're often writing, donating nominal amounts of money, which is like a small multiple of how much the product costs.
Yeah.
But they don't own equity. You can then do what you want.
It's basically risk-free, let's be frank.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, Oculus Rift, which again, that was Palmer Luckey's product. They did end up producing VR headsets, were acquired by Meta, and now, you know, Palmer Luckey makes military hardware via Anduril. But
and wears very cool shirts.
Wears wonderful Hawaiian shirts. Cards Against Humanity, that wonderful, humorous party game.
Yes.
That started on Kickstarter. Pebble.
Yep.
The Pebble, which was an early smartwatch, was acquired by Fitbit.
They're a legit business, you know.
Fitbit, yeah.
Well, I mean, but Pebble, you know, legit.
Yeah, I mean, they shipped. And a bunch of other things. The other one I had written down was Fidget Cube. I don't know what it is, but I believe it was like an evolution of the fidget spinner. And I think they raised like $5 million. Some absurd figure.
Because like I did buy for my children off Temu just to try and get the order above $40, like 2 little fidget cube devices, which is like a cube. And on one side, it's got what feels like a kind of 3-piece combination lock. On the other side, it might have like a little joystick type thing. It's like a tactile cube. I don't know if it's the same thing, but my guess is it's something along those lines.
Yep. And also it's worth
bearing that you can kind of roll in your thumb.
Yep.
Quite
I
nice.
mean, you got I think that's what the fidget cube was. And I'm pretty sure this was a COVID era. Was that a COVID era thing? I feel like it might have been.
I mean, I bought them off Temu like a year ago less, but they were literally $1.50.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I mean, it wasn't, I don't know if it was labeled as fidget cube. It was just like, you need an extra $5 to make shipping free.
Yep.
Just add crap.
Oh yeah.
I won the opportunity to add crap to my basket in order to up the basket value.
Hell yes. Actually, it's worth mentioning here that, because I actually think that Kickstarter and the crowdfunding thing are sort of underrated in terms of the weird ripple effects they had beyond. So they established this model for like, to be honest, it's like early creator economy, really.
Yeah.
Like the whole idea that you are paying a creator directly to make X.
It is, again, we talk about this all the time, like university degree, where it's like you can skip all of the superstructures of capital and go direct from creator to consumer.
Yep.
You know, it's going back to almost like a bespoke agrarian-esque kind of direct craftian thing.
It's farm to
table, etc.
It's farm to table.
We're going to cut out all of the middleman. There's like DTC, obviously, but this is like, there was this kind of utopian idea that you can connect directly with people. Like, we have no need for these huge institutions anymore. We connect directly,
from the people who want your product.
There's no more rent seekers. There's no more vampires.
There's no more quasi-financial institutions. And I think a lot of the projects that got funded off Kickstarter was like, I want to make a movie. I want to make a big dramatic
comic book,
podcast series, comic book, the kind of stuff that now you would fund through Patreon. And Patreon is definitely like a descendant of the Kickstarter model.
Yeah, but like
it's different in that it's ongoing, it's a bit more media based, but I think it really did lay the groundwork for especially like the consumer behavior of I pay directly to a person who's creating something and they produce that thing for me.
I pay for an idea.
Yeah, exactly.
When was the last time that people started paying for an idea other than Down Round?
Yeah. Well, there we go. Down Round wouldn't be here without the people who made the fidget cube.
I don't know if you're ready for me to go into one of the projects I backed. I've just looked it up. Sorry, I know that you were looking over at me because I was scrolling on my phone, but I was scrolling on my phone in order to find this.
No, by all means.
So this is the thing that I pledged to, and I can't remember how much it was. It would have been in the hundreds, was the Pavilion wireless speaker and D-spiral acoustic system. And I pledged money in, well, the email that I found the link for it was from 2016. The pledge was the 12th email, so it may well have been earlier.
Let's reverse engineer back a few years.
Once again, we're good at this. Anyway, I'm just going to read you one of the more recent comments.
So what was it?
It was a speaker. Look, that's the speaker.
Oh, it's kind of aesthetic. But what was it supposed to
just look beautiful? Bloom your space with beautifully designed speaker plus innovative sound system. Like nowadays, obviously, I wouldn't. Bluetooth speakers are kind of. Like we're talking.
You certainly wouldn't invest hundreds of dollars into the maybe production
of
one.
It had concrete on the bottom. It's got this kind of copper tubes, etc.
This is platonic ideal of putting $100 into a Kickstarter. This weird aesthetic speaker
with concrete. I think it might have been more than 100.
Did you ever take receipt of this device?
I did not. That's what I'm gonna. So 143 backers pledged $71,000 to it. This is US dollars.
Sorry, how much? 143, 70,000.
Spent 100.
See,
when 71,000.
When you see a breakdown like that, you have to assume there's a level of laundering going on, right?
And that also suggests that keen mathematicians now be able to work out what I probably pledged towards this thing I never received. Here are a couple of comments. From 6 years ago, Joel Fong, very disappointed overall. Sound quality wasn't great when it arrived. The copper spiral also had a few cracks and wasn't looking great. The battery life was way below listed specifications, and now I can't even connect to it via Bluetooth. That's not good. That was 6 years ago, but he received it presumably 5 years late. It does not work a few months after purchase. It seems like a battery problem. It is impossible to replace one. You are disgraceful. I never received product. And then, in particular, Brian Foster. He's a super backer. At early backers, maybe that used to work on Kickstarter, but he's adding the early backers of the product.
I feel like doesn't work.
Guys, if you see this message, could you guys upload a picture of your speaker with a link? I'll be filing a class action lawsuit against this company and every single individual responsible for this project. At Holt Design, they're the people who make it, I request for customer support, but I get excuses regarding the copper spiral for your poor quality control with your manufacturer. I had photos of the speaker from early backers with polished copper spirals. I like how you lie. Oh, and was it Aaron or Brian who removed his own Facebook account? End of message. All right. So that's where we're at.
That's a classically Kickstarter story. You invested potentially hundreds of dollars in a spurious product you didn't need.
Yeah.
And then a smattering of early backers maybe received it. And then it's just a trail of recriminations and angry comments left on the Kickstarter.
Obviously, some very embarrassed people who are too scared to face their backers.
Again, yeah.
Liar, scams, very angry with these people.
I take it you copped it on the chin and accepted that as a angel investor, sometimes your investments don't.
Sometimes you flush and sometimes you bust.
Yep. Again, you're an angel investor and the
upside potential here.
The upside was receiving a product.
A V1 of a product.
Imagine if Amazon just said that to you. Like, you are investing in this packet of 5 Amazon Basics shirts.
The upside potential is you receive.
You receive the shirts in a timely fashion.
But obviously, all investment is risk.
Risk.
Past performance is not a reliable indicator of future gains.
If you don't receive the shirts, you get back on the carousel, folks. Invest in some other outcome. Because obviously we mentioned, before I was very gracious, I mentioned a few of the Kickstarter victories. Again, Oculus Rift. Big product now under the name of MetaQuest. Cards Against Humanity. People do talk about that.
Yeah.
Expansion packs. They're a company that makes money. The Pebble, they were acquired by Fitbit, who in turn was acquired by Google. These are like venture-style outcomes. They are acquired by people.
Yeah.
But the list of failed Kickstarters and Indiegogo projects over the years is a little bit more famous. I'm going to read out some examples. The iBackpack, which was like a tech wear-enabled charging backpack. Smart backpack with built-in charging ports, Wi-Fi hotspots, Bluetooth speakers. Raised over $800,000 through Kickstarter and Indiegogo. What happened? The creator misused funds, failed to deliver products. The Federal Trade Commission got involved, accusing the campaign of fraud. FTC lawsuits, and backers were left empty-handed.
Would you believe I have my own Kickstarter bag story?
Go on.
As keen down around listeners would know, I am a sucker for a gadget and a gizmo. So this is from Kendall and Hyde Weekend Duffel Kickstarter campaign to me, 7th of September 2017. If you are receiving this email, it is because you ordered a weekend duffel bag from Kendall and Hyde and have not received it. As you are painfully aware, Kendall and Hyde LLC, of which I was 40% equity holder, became insolvent and was closed down in late 2016, and my partners left the business. I tried to personally salvage the brand I founded by trying to refinance the debt and bring in outside investment money, but in the end, I was unsuccessful, and the whole venture went into bankruptcy, taking me personally with it. Anyway, it's a very long, sorry story, and basically it ends with, I want to make this better. Here's all the reasons why it screwed up. If you send me $150, you will get a bag that I'm personally making.
So I think one of the issues that emerges here is that you're receiving venture-style funding from an array of backers, but like something like the iBackpack, which is, I guess the idea is that it will be a mass market product that you can buy from shops and all that kind of stuff.
What is the benefit here?
You're getting $800,000 of seed capital.
Yeah.
Which is not a small amount of money.
No, but I mean the benefit for the person quote unquote investing.
Yeah.
I say this as someone who has done this multiple times.
Yeah. No, don't. Well, on the one hand, it's like, yes, the person who's actually putting the money behind their ultimate outcome is receiving a product. But also, like, at the end of the day, when you look at $800,000 of venture capital to design a product, it's not a huge amount of money. It's a lot of money for a backpack, but for something that was really, really hyped, it's not that much. No. And it doesn't give you a huge amount of leeway for failure if you're constantly like iterating and then working out manufacturing plans and dealing with distribution and marketing and all these kinds of things. You can burn through $800,000 very, very quickly.
Well, especially when, the difference with venture capital is obviously like, you're not being held to actually delivering a certain number of product, right? Like I can raise $800K, do the R&D, and get all the suppliers.
Take the time to develop.
And guess what? If I'm running out of money, I just go and try and raise some more money. Yep. But what do you do when you actually owe friggin' 1,000 backpacks to people?
Exactly.
Or more.
Yeah.
Like you have to make the friggin' backpacks.
You got to make them.
And if you want to raise more money, you've got to promise another 1,000 backpacks that you haven't yet actually been able to make.
The entire model was completely absurd, especially when it came to because if you look at,
I gave the guy $150 extra, by the way, but he did deliver me a bag. I still have it to this day.
The iBackpack.
No,
it's something like that.
The leather, my Kendall and Hyde leather bag. It was good quality. It ended up costing something like $650.
See, I've actually not been sucked into backing any Kickstarters. It's never happened to me.
I don't see it as being sucked in. I see it as basically a donation.
You're contributing to the entrepreneurial economy.
Exactly.
Here's another one. The Peachy printer. And here are my notes. What it was, $100 3D printer marketed as the cheapest on the market. raised 650,000 Canadian dollars in 2013. What happened? The project's co-founder misappropriated $320,000 of that to build a house, leaving the printer incomplete. Project collapsed and backers never received their printers.
They never received their $100 Canadian
I was going to say
printer?
$100 3D printer.
That does not exist to this day, right?
I don't think that's ever happened. Yeah.
I mean, 3D printing fell off regardless.
I mean, you could make some absolutely absurd claims on Kickstarter, and I know that eventually they reformed their policies after a series of dramatic failures. The other one, the laser razor. This
sounds cool as hell.
This one really cooks
I could
me.
see myself dumping 150 into this.
A razor that promised a laser-based bladeless shaving experience raised over $4 million in pledges.
I mean, that sounds cool as heck.
And then what happened? The company failed to produce a working prototype.
You couldn't shave your face with a laser?
And Kickstarter suspended the campaign for fraud allegations. No product ever materialized. Again, this was a time of great hope in the world. That people were like, I also just imagine the complete Reddit brain you would have to have.
I'm still trying to imagine what the laser shape is. It like it scans your head and you stay really still? And
No, I feel like it was actually like in a.
It's like a razor, but what you just hold it next to your head, and it's okay. There's a little buffer, and it'll just like laser off your hair.
Well,
that's just ridiculous.
What a ridiculous thing to assume would happen.
Why?
Well, you know how like the you know those like laser. They're not lasers, but like the electric lighters that have like the. It almost looks like a laser crossbeam.
Yeah.
That sort of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, those are cool. The first time I saw someone whip that out while they were lighting a blunt or whatever, I was like, this guy's cooking. This is next level. I guess that's the sort of technology they were pitching.
Yeah.
Which I
like
would
that for your head.
I wouldn't want that anywhere near my face. Certainly not to the tune of $4 million. If you look at all these things that were dramatic failures, another one, the Kanoe earbuds, over $1 million, wireless earbuds with promise of great sound and seamless connectivity. Again, $1 million to invest in R&D for a pair of high quality, sophisticated Bluetooth headphones is nothing. Sennheiser, imagine what Sennheiser or Bose or Apple or anyone else is investing in that. Again, commercial failure, no long-term product support.
I mean, to be fair, once again, another Kickstarter thing. I've already mentioned this on Down Round. I had the kind of the immersive headphones that would change the sound of the real world into your ears so that you could like live this kind of alternate universe. Hyper reality of what the world around you by like.
No, you love gadgets. You are the target market for like Kickstarter frauds.
Yeah.
Because you love Mark. You love the idea of a mysterious gadget that pushes
that no one's ever thought of before.
No. Again, another one, the Xano drone. Kickstarter, $3.4 million
Drones
raised.
were big on there. I do remember.
Again, I promise there was a ton of it. User-friendly drones delivered a disastrous product, severe delays, technical issues before the company collapsed. Again, this is a very, very common story. And there's a reason why, if you look at it now, there's a ton of like content-based things. You do not see anywhere near as many, if any, hardware products.
Yeah.
Because, again, completely misaligned incentives. We're talking about small teams trying to design hardware products that with the eventual goal of mass producing them or at least producing them at some level
and
of
the
scale.
only thing you get in exchange for your risk is like you get to be one of the first you maybe get a V1 product.
Yeah, which is obviously absurd. And as we talked about, the mismatch between $3 million, which is like a tremendous amount of money to receive from a disparate array of fundraisers.
Yeah, as an individual to get you and your mate to get $3 million posted into your bank account, great.
And to get it from like small donors, incredible.
Yeah.
But $3 million is not going to cut it when you try and design a drone or headphones or whatever.
No, and all of a sudden, all you end up with is 100,000 really angry people trying to ruin your life.
Again, this is why when you look at it now, the biggest problem, and I said a third of their income comes from people doing like tabletop role-playing games, board games, and there's successful ones in that realm that have been funded that way. Because again, when you fundraise or like when you're donating to someone to make a tabletop role-playing game, you are essentially paying their wages.
Mm.
You are creator economy, giving them the ability to spend their time making it.
Exactly. I believe that you're a creative person
And you're
quit your job and spend the next 6 months
making Gloomhaven or one of these like role-playing board games or whatever. That's great. Very, very different value proposition and way more aligned with like Patreon or something than you are going to design a competitor project to like DGI.
Yeah. You're going to make $100 3D printer.
a product that 15 years later has not been made or even gotten close to being made.
I don't mind my my leather kind of travel bag purchase because it was like artisan, right? It was like we use artisan leather and this, that, and the other. It's like, okay, I can get around it. They fucked it up, obviously, because it ended up costing me God knows how much money and came 4 years after they were supposed to deliver it. But yeah, like, why was I trying to buy a Bluetooth speaker?
Yeah, why were you trying to do that? Then you came with the mistake of you being, you are an investor. You're Mark Andreessen. You're allocating capital.
At least I enable innovation.
Actually, I should mention probably the most dramatic, bizarre crowdfunding example. And this is like, again, another area where there has been actually some success in crowdfunding as well as some failures is like video games because it kind of crosses over. You can get a small team of people who are working with like minimal hardware to create a great video game. And some of them have gotten off the ground with crowdfunding and like have released and been successful, and one's slightly less successful or whatever. But the big example of a video game that got funded via crowdfunding, I would be shocked if this wasn't the most money ever raised for something with crowdfunding is, and the gamers in the audience will know exactly what I'm going to say. It's called Star Citizen. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
So it's basically, the idea was like, we're going to make the perfect space game.
Well, this has happened before, though, that wasn't Star Citizen. Wasn't there another one that was this?
Probably.
I feel like space simulators are like the white whale.
It's the white whale, yeah, exactly. A game where you can go to any planet and explore and everything.
Yeah.
Like own enormous starships and explore the galaxy. Star Citizen has raised. Guess the amount of figure, the dollar figure that Star Citizen has raised.
I don't want to know.
$600 million.
Oh my God.
$600 million. And the product, there's a lot of people who are really obsessed with Star Citizen and like following its development.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, this has been in production for, I think, 15 years. And if you jump on TikTok, search Star Citizen, you'll see there's a huge community of people who show off this game they've been playing that's been in development for so long and had $600 million worth of development put into it, and it looks like fucking shit.
Yeah, right.
It looks interesting, but it doesn't look like fun.
Yeah. Because I remember Starfield was the other big space sim.
That's right. Well, that's like the Bethesda one. Yeah. That at least came out.
Sorry. No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. Yeah.
No Man's Sky. Which was that a MMORPG? No Man's Sky. Because there was one of them that was an MMO where it was basically like, we have mapped the literal, known universe. You can go to planets and claim them as your own.
Yeah. No, that was No Man's Sky. It was a real like.
But I remember people being like, okay, cool. So I can go off, and it's not real time, but it takes ages, obviously, to travel because you have to travel at light speed or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So people would spend 25 days traveling to some far off planet or like star, and then, some planet off the star system or whatever, and claiming it as their own. And then they'd leave, but it's like the idea was, this game is going to continue to grow, but like that will always be, like, you basically own that star now because you were the one to discover it.
Yeah.
Plan as your own. And then people like kind of worked out online like, oh, someone else traveled to their star, but it wasn't actually named after them. And No Man's Sky were like, well, we just didn't, like, it's an infinite universe. We didn't really expect people to go to another thing.
Well,
so just after 30 days, we just deleted whoever's.
No, their big thing was like they promised it was like a multiplayer experience. And two people went to the same point in the galaxy and they weren't there.
Yeah.
And they were like, actually, it's not multiplayer at all.
Yeah.
Although No Man's Sky has that. Yeah, that was another big one. Was like huge promises, didn't live up to it. They had a big publishing deal with Sony. It is actually. It's apparently good now. Like it's good. After 10 years of development, or however long, But Star Citizen, $600 million later, all you get is like a weird game that like 25 autistic people are playing. In terms of like bang for buck,
Yeah.
that's about as bad as crowdfunding gets. Although it is where, I mean,
At least they shipped.
well, I don't know. I don't think they can be fair to say they have shipped.
All right. They got screenshots.
It's like a weird beta. Anyway, but one thing that came up in the interim, which is totally based off the Kickstarter model, was like GoFundMe.
Yeah.
GoFundMe came after.
Yeah, go fund yourself.
Go fund yourself. I mean, pretty grim that a lot of it was like raising money for medical debt and shit like that.
And like I've been kicked out of home or whatever.
I've been kicked out of home. My husband died in a car accident and now I need money to live.
Yeah.
And it was exactly the same model. I guess the big thing with GoFundMe is they did switch to that model where it was all optional donations to fund the actual GoFundMe layer of it. Like they weren't clipping the ticket. Donors would have to donate extra to fund the actually fund the company.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because this is obviously the big issue with something like Kickstarter is like, okay, Kickstarter, you're getting money from all these pledges, you're getting a percentage donation, and then they don't deliver.
Yeah.
Are you culpable? And they say like, well, no, we put 9 billion things saying you are probably getting fucked in the ass right now.
Yeah.
So we are going to continue to take our
we will clip. We will. I mean, yeah. I mean, as a pitch, we will clip the ticket on these fanciful products that were never delivered. It is a big call. You know,
you have to deal with heaps of pissed off people who didn't get their really shitty Bluetooth speaker 12 years ago.
Yep, and we absorbed some of the income from that. Kickstarter had they had another surge because obviously. Early 2010s were a big moment for them through the mid 2010s. Their growth slowed down. They had a big surge during COVID because, it was the time for everyone to
think big,
experiment. You're all locked in. Help someone realize their dreams from in lockdown.
Yeah, new financial models are possible.
Yeah, create some. I mean, you could probably tie it to like the NFT and
exactly. I was thinking
Shitcoin
there is
boom.
like an NFT art because like the early NFT was also like support artists.
Yeah, and also like you've got
a rare art collection.
Well, you've got your stimmy checks. You're not spending money out of the pub. You've got a bit of loose capital to invest in.
The world is different. New things are possible. A whole new world awaits.
Yep.
We just need to work out what it is, and right now is the time to get on board.
Yep. So that obviously didn't last, and it seems like Kickstarter has been languishing a bit since then. And like, you really don't hear.
We should do one.
We should do one.
We should do one right now.
What if we do a Kickstarter where we say we'll set it at $500,000?
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
500,000.
Are we talking AUD or USD? Right now, I think the AUD, as we're speaking, is about 64 cents 90.
Let's say the USD, $500,000 USD. And if we hit that target, we will produce 52 episodes in a year.
Whoa.
52 episodes.
And if you pledge
Down around
to
for a
us,
year.
you'll get half price.
Yeah.
And the pledge costs $250.
That's great. Imagine we just don't deliver it and just start leaving updates where we're kind of like, thanks for your support, guys. We're still chipping away at those episodes.
Yeah, we've had some supplier issues.
We're
going to work. We're confident we can work through the supplier issues.
We really want you to have this podcast in your hands, listening to it. Actually, here's the thing we should do. Scratch that.
Okay, done.
We should do like because this is another classic crowdfunding product, which I think we've mentioned on Down Around before, but Neil Young's Ponyo.
The Ponyo, yes.
The Ponyo was a
MP3 player.
Or the Pono. Yeah, I think it was Ponyo. It raised.
Sorry, it wasn't MP3s.
FLACs.
It was a FLAC player.
It was a FLAC player because Neil Young didn't think that, because this was back in 2014, he was still talking about iTunes and Spotify, not the right way to be listening to music. It's compressed. It's not lossless. The Ponyo player raised $6.2 million in 2014, and the device they eventually shipped, limited usability, niche appeal, wasn't as good as an iPod in virtually any way, apart from being able to play FLACs. And to be fair, like I'm pretty sure at that point the iPod could play like Apple lossless.
Yeah, and WAVs and stuff. Yeah. But like they just took up heaps of space.
Yeah. So what I'm proposing is that we run a Kickstarter where we design kind of a device.
Yeah. And on the back end, we just call like title and
No.
just play lossless podcasts. Lossless podcasts. It's genius. Right now, you're getting an MP3. Imagine this as lossless FLAC.
You are losing so much of the nuance of what we're saying because it's so compressed by iTunes, Spotify, whatever your player is, that you're really losing the breathing. You're losing the.
It's the space. It's not the words.
It's not the
space around the words.
Yeah. It's not. It's not
the room. You need more room.
It's not what we say. It's what we don't say, and that's what you're not capturing. The little subtle breaths between our comments. You're losing 60% on average of what we're saying.
My chuckles rebounding off your forehead is lost in MP3 format.
That's exactly right. So the Downy player, basically it's a little Tamagotchi-shaped device.
Yeah, beautiful. We need more ovular devices, folks.
It's an ovular device. It's got that kind of like liquid crystal display as well. It automatically downloads every episode. You use like a little scroll wheel to move between episodes on the display, and that's all it does.
Fidget cube type situation.
It's a focused device. It just plays episodes of the Down Round podcast.
Yeah,
in absolute lossless audio, and we need $800,000 to make it.
Yeah, and if you are one of our first backers, you'll get the device and an email saying, "Here is your device."
We are targeting 2029. 2029 is the target.
Yep.
In fact, we're just going to be completely upfront with you. We think there's going to be delays for the Downy.
This is true.
2034 might be a little bit more on point for the Downy.
And yes, that is correct. The business has been established in Angola.
It's been established in Angola. It's established in Angola, but the office is in Botswana. We also have a satellite office in Windhoek in Namibia.
Anyway, downround.net.
Downround.net. Wait for your email.
If you like grinding, if you're a hustler and a grinder, then why the heck aren't you frickin' Downround Premium? Go to downround.net right now and level up your game.